G'day there guys, it's Connor here again, hope you're all having a fantastic day. Anyway, we're back with some more stories from Reddit, and no, I do not know where Jack is. At least that's what my lawyer's telling me to say. Anyway, hit like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in. Okay, well on relationships, this one was written by user Business Overlord 2, and it's titled, My fiancé told me his business partner is a priority over me because of money. Sorry if this is long Reddit, but understanding my problem requires some background info. My fiancé Nick and I have been together 3 years, engaged 1. I'm a grad student who's pretty broke and work odd jobs to pay for school and life. He's a mid-level executive pulling in 6 figures who works from home and has a ton of downtime and freedom. Recently, he created an app that allows him to produce these digital goods he can sell online. I can't provide more detail. He completely controls production and distribution of his goods, and the only cost is essentially maintaining the software. The stuff practically runs itself now at zero cost to him. There is huge demand for these goods in this small community online, and a few months ago Nick found someone there he could trust, Joe. Joe sells the goods for Nick, who doesn't like doing it and takes 50% commission. The money is good enough that you could leave your day job doing it, although both haven't. Ever since he built the app, Nick has been trying to get me to sell these goods for him as well. He likes when I work from home so I can share his lifestyle with him, plus the money is better than a regular job. After a while, I agreed and started to sell. Initially, Nick asked for 10% of what I made, which was cool. Then I noticed he started getting unhappy with how I was selling, but unreasonably so. He'd start an argument if I gave a customer a $2 discount for a $70 order. Apparently Joe was unhappy that I was selling on his turf and was being at Nick about it, and Nick was taking it out on me in turn. Keep in mind, there are more than enough goods and customers for Nick to hire 5 to 6 more sellers on top of me and Joe. The arguments continue. Selling is becoming unbearable for me, and Joe's complaints are just unreasonable. But Nick keeps saying that I'm the one who has to accommodate Joe and fix things. Finally, I tell Nick that I feel like he prioritizes Joe over me, and he replied, Well yes, I get 50% of what he makes, so he's a more important seller than you. I have to prioritize him. That hurt my feelings, and of course I wanted the arguments to end, so I offered to give 50% of everything I sold to Nick as well, so that I could be treated equally as a salesperson. He agreed. Of course, Joe still wasn't happy. His complaints continued that I was stealing his customers and undercutting him. I wasn't. I came up with a fair solution of matching our prices, to which he agreed, but then he actively started undermining me as a seller. He would tell me he was selling something at $50, I'd follow suit, then I'd find out he was selling them at $20, that kind of crap. Anyway, I told Nick about this and he essentially told me the same thing as before. Joe was a priority and he was tired of dealing with our drama. He also said that Joe was an established member of the community, he had a large footprint as a seller who's been doing it years before me, and he was irreplaceable. Joe finally came clean and told Nick that he was unhappy that I was selling at all. He doesn't want to take money out of his mouth and put it into hers, and therefore he doesn't want to have any sort of sales system with me, even though it was his complaints that led to that. Nick thought his feelings were reasonable, and started telling me that he didn't have to be my employer, and that he owned the whole thing and could shut it down any time. He said he wanted both Joe and me to be happy, and that I should work with him on finding a solution, ignoring that Joe said he wants me out and was obviously going to sabotage any solution again. I was so disgusted and tired of the whole thing that I quit selling yesterday. Joe is happy. Nick is happy that he doesn't have to deal with the drama anymore, but I'm resentful towards Nick. I don't know if I'm in the wrong, but it's making me rethink our wedding. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a bad idea working for your partner in the first place, but I do feel like her fiancé is not treating her like, I don't know, his fiancé? I don't know, let's go to the comments. Is Joe okay with other people being hired that aren't you? If Joe is not okay with hiring more people, he could be hurting the business, and if this is just about you, then he's an ass. Either way, this sounds bad. I would quit working for your boyfriend anyway, in case this all goes sour. She replies, I did quit working for my fiancé. Joe is unhappy with anyone else selling. This does hurt my fiancé's bottom line, but obviously keeping Joe happy was more important than his bottom line. Mostly I'm upset because I'm his fiancé. I was paying out the same amount as Joe, and Nick still treated me poorly. You have a much bigger problem than you realize. Your fiancé is treating you like an employee, not a fiancé. I'm sorry for your pain. Nick, or your fiancé, was a jerk, and you have a right to be ticked. Opie says, crap, even if I wasn't his fiancé and was just an employee, I'd be ticked. No employee would put up being treated like that, especially if they're paying out the same money. Quote, anyway, I told Nick about this and he essentially told me the same thing as before. Joe was a priority and he was tired of dealing with our drama. Poor ignorant little Nick. What he calls drama that he's tired of dealing with is actually his job duties that he's obligated to perform as founder/owner/manager of the company. I sarcastically and condescendingly say poor ignorant little Nick because I'm pretty irritated upon reading your post. The dude is super wealthy from his inventions and job, owns his own app, hires 2 salespeople, and doesn't even realize that he has to manage the salespeople. He hired Joe, then later he hired you, and gave you part of Joe's territory. Maybe his business decision is that it's okay to split up territories, in which case he needs to tell Joe to shut the hell up and get over it. The company is growing and sales reps will have to get along with other sales reps. Or maybe he wants to give each sales rep their own exclusive territory, in which case he needs to spell that out clearly to both of you so that you don't overlap with each other. Either way, it's his decision to make and execute, and he is way out of line and an ignorant fool who obviously has never ran a business before for trying to push it off on you two to figure it out for yourselves and calling it drama. Drama, lol, it's business, dude, business. Tell him to grow up and run his business like an adult. And she replies, thank you, I'm really irritated and resentful as well. Nick refused to tell Joe to cut the crap and basically told me that I'd have to be the one to come up with a compromise. Then, when Joe sabotaged the compromise, Nick still sided with him. I'm so mad right now. Nick's being all cute and affectionate because he knows I'm mad, but I can't let go of the resentment. I just don't know if that's enough to call off a wedding, but I really want to. Okay, straight to an update the next day. Keeping all your advice in mind, I sat down with Nick last night to have a talk about the venture and Joe. At first, he was defensive. He accused me of entering the business and demanding to change the system Joe and I created. He said I'd been acting like an entitled girlfriend, asking for him and Joe to cater to my whims. I was so baffled by this version of events that I made him discuss each event chronologically. He tried to put the blame on me, but I wasn't having any of it. Eventually, he admitted that everything was fine with me until Joe started asking for changes. That is the only time I started coming up with proposed changes to the system because neither he nor Joe were coming up with any, but kept telling me, quote, something needed to change. Then he finally explained why he'd been acting the way he was. So it turns out that Nick doesn't view Joe as an employee the way I was, but viewed him as an equal business partner who is there with him from the beginning and has equal say in the business. That was why he was irreplaceable. He apparently told Joe that I would only be selling temporarily, which is not what he told me. Naturally, Joe started getting miffed when it turned out I was there to stay, especially when I, quote, started selling a blizzard of goods, in Nick's words. He hadn't expected me to be so good at selling. Nick apologized, said he handled the whole affair very poorly, and said that I wasn't to blame after all. I accepted his apology, but I told him that none of it had been a reason to treat me badly, and that it showed that I was still not a priority. I told him that I haven't been a priority since the beginning of our relationship, and that marriage was not on the table anymore, because I really need to be a team with my husband. He went quiet and then started talking about how he feels like he has to cater to me all the time, keep me entertained, and that my life revolves around him. I was really surprised by this because I lead a normal life, school, work, etc., and detected a hint of contempt because I'm not entirely consumed by work like he is. After a bit of prodding, it turns out that Nick is one of those people who prefer living by themselves, having 30-hour coding marathons alone, then pass out for 15. Any kind of relationship where you see each other more than 3 times a week is too much work for him, essentially. That isn't conducive to any relationship I want to have, and that hint of contempt really sealed the deal for me. He thinks I'm too high maintenance, in attention and effort, and I think he's not meeting my minimum requirement for a boyfriend, let alone a fiancé. We expressed to these things to one another. I did mention the horse crap distribution of labour too. At the end of the discussion, I told him the wedding was on indefinite hold and that we would be living separately from now on. He seemed bummed out, but accepted it. I think he really feels that our relationship can work that way. He seemed pretty damn chipper this morning. I know I need to leave him immediately. The problem is that we have a 2-month-long international trip coming up in a week that I cannot cancel, so I want to make that as painless as possible. That trip has been 10 years in the making and entails family members I haven't seen in a long time. After that, I'll move out and let him know it's over. Edit on why the trip is necessary. This is actually a very involved trip into a couple of continents. We have a shared apartment in Europe that we were planning on emptying and ending the lease on. We're both needed for that. The second leg of the trip is to my native country, and he's not needed for that. However, he's already paid thousands of dollars in non-refundable airfare for it and has been excited for months about it. So I'm not about to yank that out from under him. Our relationship may be ending, but I don't hate him. Honestly, he knows what me moving out means. He's a smart guy. I've always made clear that living together and getting married is important to me, so he knows. He's also someone who avoids unpleasant conversations like the plague, so it won't be awkward. This trip is making the best of things, I suppose. One comment says, "For reals girl, I cannot believe you considered this acceptable on the life partner, that he would not pay for your flights or the difference in cost between yours and his, so that you could be together on a vacation, that he was okay with you basically being a second-class citizen compared to him on a trip you were taking together. That is breathtakingly selfish to me, and I'm shocked you do not see this." Opie says, "It never even occurred to me to ask. I don't even know how I'd ask. If he'd offered, I would have been super pleased and happy, but I don't think I'd ever ask." And I don't know what to say. He only does this on pricey international flights and vacations. For cheap local trips, we usually fly together and he covers my tickets, especially if I'm only going to keep him company for work and it's not a fun place to go to. Also, he stays at hotels far beyond my price point. I don't pay for those, he covers them entirely. He also usually completely covers car rentals. But at the same time, he'd get those things regardless of whether I'm there or not, so I don't know. And how would Opie describe the relationship? Interestingly enough, we mesh really well as living partners and there are very few annoyances. We're comfortable with approximately the same amount of mess. We have similar entertainment habits. We don't do anything weird that drives the other one up the wall. Our eating and sleeping habits are pretty much identically weird. It's just my actual existence that's an annoyance. He just needs 4 days a week when I'm not there. Ain't gonna happen for me. How will Opie handle it with her family? I'll introduce him as a fiancé and say the wedding date isn't set, which it isn't. My overseas family won't care if they find out we broke up later. They're not that traditional or religious at all. Wow, alrighty guys, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty clear to me that this guy is not ready for a relationship. At least, not the kind of relationship that 99% of women are looking for. So yeah, good luck dude, I guess. But yeah, Opie's better off just moving on from this, I think. And she seems acutely aware of that fact, which is great. And she's 25, whole life ahead of her. No need to catastrophize here. What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, leaving that story there and moving on to the next one. Okay, moving on, still on relationships. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "My ex's mum shared a on this day memory of my ex, his brother, and myself on Facebook. His new girlfriend blew up on me." I'll keep this short. My ex, Ross, and I broke up over a year ago now. We started growing apart and wanted different things out of life. We have kept things civil, kept each other on social media, but we don't talk, unless we see each other in public. I have decided to stay single until I finish my masters, but he now has a new girlfriend, Crystal. I was very close with Ross's family. I still have them all on Facebook, but we don't talk unless it's to wish each other a Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, etc. Only a handful of times a year, out of respect for Ross. They do like my posts, especially his mother. I asked Ross if he would rather I unfriend them, but he says he's cool with it and not to worry. The other day, I received a notification from Ross's mum. She shared a memory with me in it. It was of myself, Ross, and his younger brother when we were on vacation 3 years ago. His mum wrote, "Miss the beach, can't wait for summer." I thought it was a little weird and awkward to say the least, but I didn't say anything. A few hours later, I received a Facebook message from Crystal saying, "OP, I don't know why you feel the need to still keep tabs on Ross's family, but you need to back off. Accept the fact that he is my boyfriend and please remove yourself as his friend as well as the rest of the families. I have replaced you and you serve no purpose to be in their lives anymore. Grow up and get over yourself. I haven't even responded, but I'm so confused. I've met Crystal once when I bumped into them grocery shopping. Ross introduced us and we exchanged pleasantries. She seemed really kind. What do I say? Do I say anything to Ross or his mother? Talk to Crystal herself? I didn't even share the post. I'm so confused. Yeah, that's weird. Did she miss the fact that Ross's mother shared it? She sounds a little bit insecure, I think. Let's go to the comments. I'd just click it so it gets marked as read and not reply. I'd bet my house, dog and close family that she's watching the message to make sure Opie reads it. She replies, I read it over a day ago, so I'm sure she's checked it by now. Also, I had a post that showed up on my newsfeed. She tagged Ross in a picture with the caption, "Don't know what I would do without this amazing man in my life. Love you to the moon and back, babe. Us against the world." For lack of a better term, I can't even deal. Screenshot and send it to your ex and let him handle it. She says, I will probably do this tonight. I won't add anything malicious or accusatory, but I don't think I owe her anything. If Ross agrees, I'll oblige, but I'm not going to give in to her temper tantrum. Message the ex. Say, hi, I received this pretty aggressive message from your girlfriend, attached. I've mentioned before I don't mind removing your family if it was uncomfortable for you. Let me know if you need me to do anything, but either way, I don't want her to contact me again. Thanks. I sent him something along these lines with a screenshot, waiting for a response. Okay, an update, 2 days later. I posted on Reddit a couple of days after I received the message from Crystal. After reading your comments, I agreed that I did not owe Crystal any response or action, but I did think that sending a screenshot to Ross would be the best idea. If he had a problem with me being friends with him and keeping in touch with his family on social media, I would have no problem deleting them. To me, that should come from him, not her. So later that night, I sent Ross a screenshot of the message Crystal sent me, and I added, Hey Ross, I received this message from Crystal a few days ago. Not sure what this is about, but if you have any issues with me being friends with you and or your family on Facebook, just let me know and I will respect that. Thanks. I saw that he read the message a couple of hours later. He didn't respond that night, but I got a message from him late the next morning. He said, OP, thanks for sending me that screenshot. I had no idea that Crystal messaged you and I want to apologize for her behavior. She was completely out of line in sending you that. I spoke with her yesterday after I saw your message and she got pretty defensive. She told me that she saw that my mum still has pictures of you in one of our photo albums, and when she saw that my mum shared that memory of us on vacation, she got really insecure and took it out on you. She has never come to me and talked about it, but I told her that there's nothing to worry about, and both you and I have moved on. This upset her even more, and she accused me of cheating, and said she found a sex tape of us on my laptop and threatened to show it to my mum. At this point, I just told her we're over. I think that you should just block her on Facebook because she'll probably try to take it out on you. You didn't do anything wrong. Sorry for bringing you into this mess, lol, but thank you for giving me the heads up. I dodged a bullet there. So, that escalated quickly. For the record, Ross and I never made a sex tape. Any NSFW ones that we did make were deleted immediately after watching. I called him to firm that up and he assured me that she didn't find anything. She was just using it as ammunition to try and get him to admit that he either 1. Had an NSFW video with me, or 2. Was cheating on her with me. Not really much to say other than that. I blocked her on all social media and haven't heard anything since. I hope she doesn't have my phone number, haha. Situations like this make me happy that I've chosen to stay single for a little while. Thanks for all of your advice, Reddit. It really helped. One comment says, good gravy, starts with insecurity over a Facebook post and ends with lying about a sex tape and threatening to send it to someone's mother. Even if Ross was cheating, why the hell would you do that to someone's mum? OP replies, that's what I asked him when I called him yesterday. What would she gain from doing that, even if it did exist? Plus, Ross's mother walked in on us once. I'm sure she doesn't need another reminder of that unfortunate event. Yay, I'm very glad that Ross seems like a very good ex-boyfriend. You don't see that as often as you should, so major props there. The only advice I have for you is to be very careful with your social media accounts right now. Hopefully Crystal doesn't know your phone number, but someone who's unfortunately this insecure won't be above making fake profiles, follow you, or friend you, or having friends do it. She replies, I did a privacy check of my Facebook account yesterday. Crystal and I were not friends on Facebook, so I ended up changing my settings to make it a lot more difficult for people who are not Facebook friends with me to search me and view my profile. Probably the safer bet. Am I the only one hoping these two awesome, mature people will get back together? She says that could never happen. He wants to get married and have children. I do not. That's a deal breaker in a lot of relationships, including ours, and no matter how much we get along, we can't make that aspect work for us. Better off as friends now. Exes who aren't mortal enemies and handle things perfectly reasonably. How refreshing. Yeah, it's definitely the minority of stories on here, that's for sure. Thank goodness Ross was level-headed as well, and saw the danger signs in this girl. Oh well, important life lessons learned for everyone here, I think. Anyway guys, we're going to leave that there. That's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.